Hello and welcome to Teleislas News, the most relevant and important news of the day.
According to the last daily report issued by the National Health Ministry, in the last 24 hours, our department added 4 cases of COVID-19. With this, we make a balance of how the COVID situation is going so far in the island.
With this new report of 4 cases in the department, the islands added a total of 2,715 cases of COVID. Of these, and according to the latest local report of the Secretary of Health, there are only 5 active cases and 2,656 have already recovered. It is worth mentioning that the 5 cases that are currently active are located in the sectors of Siribie, Limbal, Hookerbie, Serranilla, and Guinea Hen, also known as Natania. Speaking specifically of the cases presented in Mul Providence, a total of 152 cases have been reported, of which are currently recovered. That is to say that there are no active cases in the municipality. Regarding the deaths since the beginning of the pandemic, a total of 45 cases have been presented, 2 of which were recorded as from the municipality of Mul Providence. Currently, the department has 0% in ICU occupancy, which means that there are no serious cases of COVID-19 or cases requiring special care. Speaking of the age distribution of the department, according to data from the National Institute of Health, people between 30 and 39 years old have been the most affected in the department with 626 cases, followed by people between 20 and 29 years old with 585 cases. To date, and following the national vaccination plan, in our island, 256 vaccines against COVID-19 have already been applied. Also, the population over 80 years of age will continue in the prioritization of vaccination against COVID-19, started from this Wednesday, March 10, with the immunization scheme in the facilities of the ESE Departamental, according to a appointed schedule from the EPS or health service providers to which they are affiliated. Today, 776 doses of Sinovac vaccines arrived to benefit the elderly population in the islands.
Two propositions were approved in the extraordinary sessions in the Departmental Assembly this afternoon. One of them was Proposition 007 of 2021, and the other proposition was 008 of 2021, both with a total of 6 votes in favor and 0 against.
Through the proposition number 007 of 2021, the Departmental Assembly invites the interim governor, Allen J. Stephens, and the national president of Findeter to present an executive report of the current state of the archipelago and the Territorial Development Bank Findeter contract 019 of 2019. Likewise, the Secretaries of Planning, Infrastructure, Finance General, and the legal advisor of the departmental territorial entity are summoned to answer a questionnaire formulated by the members of the Duma. This proposition was signed and approved by 6 deputies that make up the coalition.
And to let the community know that this expenditure was made to address the needs in the Department of San Andres, Old Providence, and Santa Catalina. It is interesting to know because these projects are of great impact, of medium scale and strong impact overall in the department.
The proposition 008 of 2021 issued by Deputy Carolina Pua Murillo was also approved, inviting Dr. Eduardo Munoz and the President and Vice President of the Special Jurisdiction of Peace to make a presentation on the progress and scope of this component to integral justice of the state, to answer a question about the Special Jurisdiction for Peace and its function.
They approved my proposal to make a working table with this important body or entity.
The 2 propositions were approved, and the session will continue tomorrow at 10 in the morning.
Do you remember the case of the accident where on March the 8th, an 89-year-old tourist was run over by a minor? New information was revealed by the National Police. Here are the facts.
In the case of a 89-year-old tourist who was run over on March the 8th, where Teleislas News got exclusive news of the event, new information was provided by the commander of the police department of the islands.
El día lunes sobre las 9:40 de la mañana.
In the morning, in the sector of Seribe, a motorcycle with excessive speed ran over an 89-year-old adult. This person was a tourist on the island, and he was staying at a native lodge.
Colonel added more details of the accident.
A young motorcyclist is a 17-year-old minor who did not have a driver's license, and added to that, there is something important to warn the family and the community itself, because at the time the events occurred and these people were taken to the health center where the tourist was in serious condition and where the driver suffered injuries, the people of the sector removed this motorcycle from the place.
The minor was placed at the disposal of the prosecutor's office, where he will have to answer for the crime of homicide in traffic accident, according to the Archaeological commander.
And in other news, officials of the Black Crab operation delivered a review of the work carried out on the sister island of Old Providence.
In November 2020, the national government launched Operation Black Crab, a strategy that seeks the environmental restoration of Old Providence after the passage of Hurricane Iota. Rowena Scarate, the coordinator of the operation, gave a report on the progress made by the initiative in its different sub-programs.
The Black Crab operation within the Conservation Incentive Project has made progress since December 2020, involving 320 beneficiaries from the community who were victims of Hurricane Iota. To date, in the marine area, we have built 4 coral nurseries, which have the capacity to house at least 10,000 coral fragments. We have 2 in Old Providence and 2 in San Andres. In the terrestrial part, we have contributed to the recovery of the tropical dry forest. The beaches, as in the case of the Southwest Beach, the opening of the Peak Center was made last February 12th.
The Coralina Environmental Corporation, within the framework of the crab operation, advances a system of nurseries with which it will seek to reforest the island with endemic species of the place. Different entities such as the Alexander von Humboldt Institute in Weimar National Natural Parks and ANLA added capacities to help the environmental recovery of the municipality.
Now we continue with news from the sister island of Old Providence. In recent days, the mayor of Old Providence and Santa Catalina appointed new administration in the municipal dock.
With more than 20 years working at sea, Captain Timothy Bent was named the new municipal dock manager. Teleislas News interviewed Mr. Bent, who said that although there is not much to start with, they will take what they have and transform it into what they need.
The first thing we have to do is clean up the dock, get everything off the dock, because the dock is well affected and it can't stand much load. So we have to maintain the dock empty. Containers that coming off the boat coming up, supposed to come out the dock same time. Don't leave no load on the dock.
Passage to the dock is going to be controlled.
People don't understand that a dock is a very dangerous place where they move a lot of load, a lot of machinery. So it's not everybody should be allowed on the dock in working hours, and no children under age.
The captain understands that it will not be an easy task, as citizens are accustomed to operating a different way, but he is confident that he will be able to do it.
If the head of dock will ever come to Providence, we no situation to receive big boat, but we can make it, because the dock need a lot of things. We don't have no security, nothing like that. So we have to start from something to make something.
It is important to note that since the last administration, a project have been approved for the construction of a new dock that will triple the size of the current one.
The Command for Recruitment and Army Reserves Control will be arriving to the department to offer opportunities for inhabitants to define their military status.
The Army issued a videographic communique announcing the arrival of the Command of Recruitment and Control Reserves. This is an opportunity for islanders to resolve their military situation.
The National Army, through the Command of Recruitment, Control and Reserve, wants to be present through a special day to define the military situation for all the inhabitants between 18 and 50 years of age that are part of San Andres, Old Providence, and Santa Catalina.
The call is for young and adults between 18 and 50 years of age.
You may enter through the webpage www.libretamilitar.min.com. There you will find the step-by-step process that you must follow in order to facilitate your coming, and you may receive your military card at the indicated time.
This special visit will take place between the 20th and the 27th of March in the department.
And And in the third installment of the special report on archaeological heritage of the raizal people, specialists in the subject spoke about the relevance of these archaeological findings.
Two professionals of the human sciences expressed the importance of the findings that are being carried out in Old Providence at this time. They are the material culture of the raizal people that help us understand our ancestors.
With these things that they take out from the sea bottom right now, I like them a battle and then a specific kind of base where they find, we can know more or less what they when they bring in and then where they when they come from, what are the origin of the people, who they when they trade with. That's why we want better understanding of our own history and we will help in the building of our own identity.
Beyond the scientific knowledge that these more than 150 artifacts can generate, their exposure also generates other benefits.
Them artifacts when they take out will surely go to a museum and create some certain type of a project that have a local museum that will boost the type of tourism what they get. These artifacts will bring a type of tourist that is more interested in culture.
Archaeologist Tracy Mayfield, who has been conducting archaeological research on the island since 2018, explains that the economic growth should not compete with cultural heritage, but rather it must be protected.
That the harbor contains not only artifact runoff from historical land-based sites, but also artifacts that were lost off of ships and during the loading and offloading of cargo in this location for the past 400 years. Unlike most land-based sites where artifacts are usually broken and fragmented due to use, underwater artifacts are frequently still intact and in their original form.
The archaeologist concludes by stating the following:
that unmonitored dredging without prior survey and artifact collection could do irreparable harm to the archaeological materials currently located in the harbor. Cultural materials are sustainable economic assets, but once destroyed, those materials cannot be reproduced and will be lost forever.
The protection of these artifacts is of great importance, and tomorrow we will have the last installment of the special archaeological heritage of the raizal people.
Yes, and now we continue with our section, Community Chronicles.
As part of Women's Month, we bring you the story of a health professional who fights daily against the COVID-19 virus, a heroine facing the pandemic.
I love everything about my profession, and I love medicine.
For the past year, Gisela Archaeological has been facing the COVID-19, and in her 17 years of profession, she never imagined facing a pandemic, which had led her not only to see the cruelest side of this new disease, but also to isolate her from her daughters and her husband.
It was difficult, at least in my case. I isolated myself from my family. I looked for a room outside my house, and in that room outside my house, I saw my daughters from a distance. I never took off my mask with my daughters. I sleep with my daughters, and when we started treating COVID patients, at that moment I distanced myself from my daughters and my husband. So it was very hard for all of us for a few months because the family claims you.
In the intensive care unit, Gisela has had to see countless cases of patients with serious complexities. But during this pandemic, she says that the hardest thing is not to be able to help people say goodbye to their families.
Normally in the intensive care unit, when you have a family member who is nearing death, you always allow the family member to be accompanied. Come in, say goodbye, bring a priest or pastor depending on the belief of each patient. In that way, you allow them to accompany their family member at the end of their life. In this pandemic and with this pathology, that was completely lost. So there is more pain and difficulty because the family cannot say goodbye to their relatives.
Archibald was the first health professional to be vaccinated against the COVID-19 on the island. She says she does not want to applause in recognition of her work, and her vocation has always been to save lives. So she asks all the islanders to continue taking care of themselves because the pandemic is not yet over.
Everyone's wish is that we all get vaccinated soon.